Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 2 o'clock. Thanks to everyone for being here. I want to welcome the new members. Steve Killian and Brett Araby have just joined us. This is their first meeting, so guys, welcome. Look forward to working with you. And many good things to come. So are there any additions to the agenda which I sent out? Anything that I missed or we need to talk about that you guys are aware of? Okay. Approval of the previous meeting minutes. Can we get a... All right, thank you. Did we get a second? Second, okay, thank you very much. Tom, do you have any comments on anything?
No, I think I'm gonna take up enough time on the orientation training, so I'll
Okay.
spare you. If you haven't voted, please do so. I think we're at almost at 20% with 41 days left in the assessment vote. So if you are sitting on your ballot at home, we encourage you to vote.
Do you want to do the training now because we've got new members? So you can go ahead and do that now if you're ready.
This will connect in just a second. We do this training every year, so it's for new and returning members of our committee, and hopefully it connects any second now. There we go. So we do it each July, and so fun fact, between our board of directors and our different committees, we have about 40 volunteers, which is pretty neat that we have that many volunteers helping us out. So the purpose, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you kind of a brief explanation, and then I will cite the actual policy in our governing documents that actually gives you the official verbiage and so forth. But the purpose or the mission of the committees is to provide advice and recommendation to the management team and to the board of directors. The joint advisory committees report directly to the board of directors, so you're not reporting to management, you're reporting to the board of directors, and unfortunately we don't have any liaisons here today. We normally do. Oh, we do have, Sandy is attending remotely, and here's liaisons. So the board will assign at least 2 liaisons. I'm pretty sure you guys have 3. And they act as intermediaries between the board of directors and the committees. The liaisons don't run the meetings. They don't take over. They're there to observe and be a support, but not manage, not lead, any of that. Management representatives will assign at least 1 management representative. In this case, you have 3 here live, and then we have Trey reporting remotely from the marina. So that way we can address any of the committee's concerns and so forth, and that's part of the collaborative benefit of working together, the committee with management and then the board. Each month, the board the committee chair will either attend the board meetings and give a monthly report to the board, or more often than not, we'll get a summary and then we'll read it to the board, and then at times the liaisons will comment. So that way the entire board is informed of the actions of the committee, not just the liaisons. The board of directors and management put a tremendous amount of value on the recommendations made by the committee. But with that being said, the recommendations from the committees are advisory. So these are joint advisory committees. And we would like to emphasize that point because sometimes committee members think they go beyond being advisory and they start trying to direct, and that's not the role of the committees. They are truly advisory. But with that being said, the board 99% of the time is going to listen and respect the opinions of the committee, but they do reserve that right. And occasionally, you know, we have to have a conversation with a committee member where we go, hey, might want to ease up a little bit. Recording of the meetings, be aware of your conduct. So if you've never been here, we have multiple cameras. We have Chris back there. He's our producer behind that glass, and he switches the cameras, and these recordings are placed on our website. They're there for 5 years, if not longer. And so just be aware that we're recording, and you don't want to use foul language. I don't think anybody would, but you want to make sure. And you also don't want to go the other direction and start grandstanding because you're in front of the community and so forth. So just be aware that we're recording the meetings. The meetings are open. We have a number of guests with us. Now, subcommittees can be closed. Subcommittees are usually, and I think that's the next slide. No, it's one of the upcoming slides. Subcommittees, maybe the committee as a whole is working on a specific issue, and they say, okay, subcommittee, you're going to work on this and then report back to the general committee. In that case, the subcommittee can be a closed meeting, but the official proceedings of this committee must always be open. We announce the meetings well in advance so that people can, our membership can attend and be present. You don't want to decide at the last minute, hey, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow, everybody show up. That would not be acceptable. It would be almost like we're trying to hide from it. We believe in transparency. Community input, we always want to make sure that we interact with the community. We not only, the community not only wants your input, but talk to your friends, talk to your, if you fish with a group, talk to them, get their input. When we're working on budgets, make sure we talk to your friends, your fellow boaters, and make sure you get their input. So it's not only yourself speaking, but it's also multiple people. Open forum, we always have an open forum. We do limit it to 3 minutes, and Jessica has the timer there. We always want to make sure that we limit the comments to 3 minutes. There can be a tendency when the person comes up and they're really nice and pleasant, we let them go for more than 3 minutes, and if the person's not so pleasant, we cut them off exactly at 3 minutes. That's usually not a good practice. Everybody gets 3 minutes. The challenge is that sometimes people think it's a debate or a question and answer. It's really, they come up, they voice their concern, they sit back down, and then we respond to those concerns. We try and limit the back and forth. That's not how the comment section works. But most of all, we want to make sure we treat everybody equally and no favoritism. Handouts, if any handouts are distributed, those are all public for the membership. So you can't hey Rick, here, this is just report just for you. That's not acceptable. If it's being distributed, we've had situations where committee members, well, no, this is just for the committee, not for the people that are attending. No. If it's at this meeting, it's open to everybody. Meeting length, we try and limit the meetings to an hour or less. There's going to be times when there's more information to be covered on the agenda, but we want you to try your best to limit it to an hour. Area of concerns, you know, make sure that that you limit your concerns to lakes. We don't want to be talking about the golf courses. That's not the area of concern. We're not going to talk about financial reporting. Well, you know, let's bring in the accounting department and they can give us a financial report. No, no, no. That's not what we talk about. And we're not going to talk about pricing. You know, what is boat registration? That's covered by the board of directors. That's not an area of concern for the Lakes Committee or any of the other committees. Uniquely compiled information. Sometimes we'll get a committee member that'll say, hey, I want you to do a deep dive in this specific area. I want you to bring in the CPA. I want all. We don't do that. That's not an area of concern for the committee. So sometimes, you know, if the committee goes, hey, can you give us an update on the number of boat registrations this year compared to last year? That's reasonable, and actually that information is already available on our website. But we can compile that information. Annual budget recommendations. Each year, by August 30th, we want the committee to provide us with recommendations for the budget. We want you to prioritize those. Or force rank those. What's your most important item to what's your least important item? And they don't have to be capital projects. They usually are, but they don't have to be. Maybe it's, hey, our recommendation is, Rick, you need to hire more lake rangers and have, you know, we need to beef up lake ranger staffing. Or, hey, we want you to have additional purchases of trout this year, and you know we want to double the amount. I don't know. I'm talking, but so it doesn't have to be capital projects. It can be staffing. It can be supplies, so forth. And we always encourage everybody to be realistic. If the recreation committee came in and said, "Hey, we need a new indoor pool facility that's going to cost $20 million," that's probably not a realistic request. It can be number one on your list, and it probably will not happen. So let's be realistic when we make our recommendations. Make sure you're respectful of staff time. We've had situations where committee members will corner a staff member and want to talk about something, and 2 hours later, the staff member is still trying to get out of that conversation. So just make sure, you know, Rick and John and Trey are really great about working with the committees, but just make sure you're respectful of their time. We talked about subcommittees, so they can be assigned to specific tasks or projects that we want them, that the committee wants to work on. Those subcommittee meetings can be closed. And no minutes have to be taken. So they're working on a specific project. A couple years ago, we did the wake boat project, and the subcommittee worked on that and then reported back, but no decision was made by the subcommittee. A recommendation was made, but no decision was made by the subcommittee. We always want you to focus on the member experience. We see this sometimes. I'll pick on the golf committee because they're not here to defend themselves, but they'll get too into, well, what's exactly going to going on with the greens, or what type of what's the cut height, and what's the chemicals that you're using, and the fertilizer, and no, we don't. How's your experience as a golfer? How's your experience as a boater? Did you enjoy it? Was the lake ranger polite? That's an experience. How, you know, were you pleased with the fish that you caught? That's an experience. We don't want to get too granular on what granular fertilizer are you using on the golf course? That's not what we talk about. We want to talk about the overall experience. You're representing the membership, and did you have a good time? And did you enjoy yourself? I keep on picking on golf. Did you enjoy yourself when you played golf? Was the golf course conditions great? When you were fishing, did you enjoy it? Or was there too much, algae? And do we need to? That's an experience? But we're not going to tell Rick, hey, you want to make sure you use this kind of chemical or this type of fertilizer. That's his expertise level. And many thanks. We can't make it happen without you guys. So we really appreciate you volunteering and continue to serve on the committee. Any questions on that whirlwind training? There will be a test later on tonight about that. Huh? What kind of fertilizer? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. Before we move on, I think we do need to elect officers, and so I'll start out by I have spoken with Jeff, and he's agreed to be secretary. Nobody else has beat my door down to do that position. So I'm going to start out. We need nominations on each one of these. We need to vote on each one of these positions. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to start out by nominating Jeff Reedy as secretary. Second. And then all in favor? Any opposed? All right, Jeff, thank you. You're the secretary. For vice chairman, Kevin Adelson has agreed to do that role. Michael has been in that role, but Kevin and Michael have decided to switch for a while, and so we need a nomination for Kevin. So I will go ahead and make that motion for Kevin Adelson to be vice chairman of the committee. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, Kevin, you're the vice chair. And then we need somebody to do chairman. And again, I'm willing to do that, but I do need a nomination, a second, and we need to vote. So, okay. Second. All right, all in favor? All right, that motion passes. So we've got officers to run the this year's meetings anyway. So at this point, we've done the orientation. I'm going to turn it over to Rick Eccles to give his report.
Okay, Mike. So we've been busy over the last month. The Lake Rangers have made over 10,000 contacts for the second month in a row. They're all doing well. The firework display on Loch Lomond went off without a hitch, to my knowledge, and everything seemed to go in pretty good order. We fertilized Lakes Norwood and Lake Ann last month. Loch Lomond is getting close right now, but we'll wait at least another week. The guys have done some wet dredging at Granton and Stonykerk, and then also at London Landing. With Loch Lomond being on drawdown this fall, we'll go in and do a better cleanup once we can see a little bit better of what we're doing. It may require the courtesy dock at Granton. We may float it out to deeper water in order to get a good job underneath that. That's kind of yet to be determined. We have had 45 grass carp harvested with our ongoing raffle that we do once a month. The latest winner was Caden Price, and he won with just one entry. We have other folks that have entered 10 or more. So it only takes one to win.
Rick, of the people that were catching multiple, what was the preferred method?
Bow fishing is
okay.
by far. I think we've only had one or two by hook and line. Okay. So yeah. The Lomond drawdown, just to reiterate, will be November the 3rd to March the 2nd. We're going to do a 6-foot drawdown, 2 inches per day. I can let maybe Trey speak for himself, but we don't anticipate there being any extra room at the marina for boats. But if you let the ACC know, you can get approval to keep your boat at your property, which normally would violate their policy. Chris has been out spraying water willow as necessary. Again, we don't have a lot of vegetation on our lakes, especially Loch Lomond, and we like water willow. It provides fish habitat, but when it interferes with navigation or mooring your boat, or if you need a place for the kids or grandkids to swim, we will come out and create a little area for you. We are seeing some regrowth of naiad, which is a good sign that maybe we're getting the upper hand on the carp, but we're going to need to keep diligent about that. And our creel survey that we initiated this spring, so far we have had 49 surveys filled out by 37 different anglers. So we look forward to keeping that going at least through fall. That's what I have.
Michael, are you on? So I don't think Michael will mind me bringing this up, but he was on Windsor
Can you hear me?
for their little parade. Mike,
Can you
you
hear
there?
me, Matt?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to bring up what you talked to me about on Windsor the other night, just to ask Rick?
Yeah, we had a boat parade on Friday or Thursday the 3rd, and we communicated that, and there were, I don't know, 20, 30 boats involved, and the lake was pretty chaotic. I did not see a lake ranger, Rick. I'm not sure if somebody was out on the lake or what their hours were, but even through the peak hours of the 4th weekend, I didn't see one ranger, and we were kind of down at the water all day. And you can't tell people how to drive boats or how to operate them,
Right.
but it was very chaotic, and there were some very, very close calls. Us included. We almost got hit by a boat towing some folks, and it just was very alarming at how chaotic it was. And I know that it's always peak season, all that, but it was the most boats I've ever seen out. But it really could have used some eyes on the water to kind of shut things down, not only for the parade, but just in general. Boats being way too close to docks, boats being way too close to each other, kids coming very close to motors if they got kicked off. Some people had flags, some didn't. I mean, it was kind of violation after violation. And so I didn't know kind of where everybody was or how many people were outstaffed, but it got a little Lake of the Ozarks for you.
Yeah. So we so for the firework display, we pulled a boat off of Windsor to give extra staffing on Lomond for the firework display. And I thought I heard you say that the parade was the 3rd, Thursday night the 3rd. Is that correct?
I might have that incorrect. Actually, it was Friday the 4th.
It was Friday the 4th.
So sorry about that.
Okay. So we did have our what we call our tow boat. It's the boat that we normally use on the smaller lakes. So when we pulled the boat off of Windsor, the normal boat, we put our smaller tow boat on. I can double check, but there should have been somebody on duty on the lake at that time.
Okay, I may have overlooked it, not just seeing the center console or whatnot, but yeah, it was it was pretty wild out here. So I just wanted to inform you, and I didn't know if for the peak season if we had more than a couple boats to kind of keep eyes on both lakes or even multiple lakes. But
we have one boat per lake for the larger lakes, and then the 3 smaller lakes we have one boat that we tow from ramp to ramp.
All right, yes, sir. Just wanted to keep you aware.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Rick on any topic? Brett?
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah. Did I hear you right when you said that you have to have a permit to keep your boat on the water after the drawdown starts?
No. If you pull your boat from the water, and you don't have a place at your home to store it, normally you can't store it in your driveway or your front yard or on the street. But during the drawdown, for those who are displaced, who need to move their boat off the water for that, the ACC will overlook that violation.
To keep your boat in your driveway and
Yes.
at your house.
Yes.
But if someone has a pontoon boat that they're okay with it kind of floating out and staying on the water, that's fine?
No, it needs to be tethered to your dock. You can let it rest. Pontoon boats rest very well if you put tires down and let it rest on the pontoons, as long as you attach a rope to those tires, and you can pull them out when the lake comes back up.
Okay.
That's also something that we allow.
Any other questions for Rick?
This is on a different topic, but have we considered changing the set or the limits on like bluegill and red ear? And, you know, if we're depleting them,
So we did do that about 3 years ago.
right, but it's still 15,
Well, we went from 50 to 15.
right?
And I would probably not recommend going any tighter on that. It's still, the state regulation is still what it is.
Right.
But we do strongly recommend that people only keep 15.
I was just wondering if there was something we could do to help the forage for the bass, you know, and
Well-
even thought about like rotating, closing down parts of lakes or something for a while.
I don't think that's feasible either. I mean, you have somebody that lives on a particular lake and now their lake is closed to fishing, but
It would,
and we stocked the threadfin shad
right,
earlier this spring on Loman, and we stocked 10,000 bluegill that were of decent size. So it's and our vegetation is starting to come back. I think it's just going to require just a little bit more patience.
more time. No, I'm patient
Yeah.
as ever, but just, you know, having people, well, state says we can keep 50 bluegill, and I'm going, yeah, the state is, but
That is true.
the state doesn't give us any bluegill either, so
Mhm.
they don't give us any fish other than trout.
No, they don't give us trout either.
Well, they don't give it to us, they supply, I'll put it that way.
No, they don't.
No, true.
They allow us to buy our own, is what they do. So.
Any other questions for Rick prior to moving on?
Yeah, Rick, is there a kind of a rule of thumb? Because fishermen ask me all the time, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? All that kind of stuff. Is there a rule of thumb that you have with a handout or with a website or anything that, you know, here's what it costs to stock this many threadfin. Here's what it would cost if we wanted to put in 500,000 crawfish. Here's what the bluegill costs. Just because I think there's some folks that are thinking that we can just go get that stuff and dump it in the lake, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't really work that way.
And that's not always money well spent. But everything that we have stocked back to 2007 is on our website, and it's got the associated cost with it. Whether back in the old days, Arkansas gave us fish when they had surplus fish. We were able to get fish from them. They weren't always stocked because of need. They were stocked because they were available and they were free. Since 2015, everything that we have put in, we have produced ourselves or we purchased. And so that's because we have skin in the game, because it costs us, we're stocking now what we feel is necessary to maintain what we have and to try to improve things as well. Yeah, the cheapest, the two things that we can do that are the cheapest way to improve things is to harvest more of what is necessary to harvest less of what is scarce, and our fertilization program, which kind of jump-starts the food chain. It fuels the plankton, which then in turn is consumed by the smaller fish and then the larger fish.
But the issue with fertilizing are the carp, and trying to stay ahead of the carp with grass that's coming out.
No, we're talking about two different things. What we try to do with fertilization is initiate a plankton bloom. That's what gives lakes their green color. We don't want to go too far with it, and we have a system that works really well for that. But fertilization really doesn't have anything to do with our grass.
With the vegetation,
Yes.
you're talking about more the plankton.
Yes.
that food chain.
That's what we're encouraging with that. Yes.
Got it. Because it's some of us have seen this and kind of laughed about it, although we should be crying. Is where the Bella Vista guys have put out the grass deals, the enclosed structures, and that's a great place if you want to go throw a cast net or spearfish or bowfish for carp, because all the carp are all hanging out by the big grass enclosures, especially the one in not in Stony Kurt, but
Well, we only have one.
There-
It's at Tyree.
Tyree, yeah, the one in Tyree. That's what I was thinking
Okay.
of. Yeah. So okay, that helps. Just in my understanding of kind of the efforts on what you guys have done in the past.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'd like to do now, Max, I'm not gonna forget about you. We have capital budget recommendations which are due August the 30th. So I sent a list out from what we had last year. So I'd like to go through and read what we had on there last year. If some of these things have been done, we need to scratch them off the list. So I have on here, repair the Lake Ann spillway, that has not been done yet. Repave the road on Lake Windsor has not been done yet, right?
It's been patched, but
Been
not.
patched, but we probably it probably still needs to be paved, correct?
Yes.
Move kiosk on Lake Avalon closer to the boat dock,
We have not done that yet.
okay? Maintain an annual budget, all lakes with balanced mineral enhancement, I would say you're doing that. Enforcement of boundaries for water skiing, wakeboarding, and continued presence of lake rangers. Do you feel like we got that pretty well covered?
I think so. We
Okay.
I haven't heard of any lake violations related to wakeboards this year.
Okay.
That weren't taken care of.
Maintain trout stocking at Lake Brittany,
Going forward, we have a plan.
okay?
The last 3 or 4 years, we've had issues with getting our permit on time, and I've got that figured out.
Fish stocking programs in all lakes, including, I think we're raising catfish,
Last
Bluegill.
year we had bluegill, catfish, and hybrid striped bass. This year we're all bluegill.
okay. Part-time internship during the summer, is that something that we can still try to fund?
We did it this past year because we had someone who was interested. They're doing the creel survey for us. That's gonna wrap up. That's probably something I wouldn't ask for again,
Okay,
in lieu of preferring to do some of the other projects.
okay. Needed maintenance in all POA parks and facilities, I think we do that ongoing. Is there anything big besides the Lake Ann Dam that needs to be on the list?
We are, when we get to the point where we are replacing entire docks, we really want to go back with the composite wood. So in the future, it doesn't require as much maintenance. I think in the long run, that would be money ahead.
I agree. And then, those were the kind of the must-dos, and then the nice-to-dos, we had provide coverage storage slips at Loch Lomond Marina, which I think we could probably fill up if that became an opportunity for us, and I don't know,
That's
that's a trade question. Trey, do you know anything about that?
I do. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we looked at doing that several years ago, pre-pandemic, and it made sense to spend the money when we looked at how much money we were going to make back on the increased dues. Since the pandemic, the cost of covering slips is so much higher that we would be 15 or 20 years paying it off. So it's not that it's not possible, it just doesn't make the same kind of financial sense it did before the pandemic.
Okay. And then the last thing I had on there was I add kayak racks to Lake Rayburn. Have we done that?
We have not. There's not a very good place to do it.
Right.
Open for recommendations of where.
So we have a couple months to think about these things, as Tom was saying in the training session. If you speak to your neighbors and you're out and about and you see things that need to be done, we're always open to recommendations and adding things to the list. And as we go on, if Rick has any additional suggestions, we'll put them on there. And then before we submit this for the final time, we'll kind of prioritize what we think needs to be at the top of the list and what's not. So be thinking about that as you go through the next couple of months. Anything else? Anybody have any suggestions, by the way, before we move on, that we haven't already talked about, or anything on top of mind for improvements? Okay, so keep that in mind. Fly tire grass carp updates. Max?
Good afternoon, my name is Max Schofield. I'm representing Fly Tire this afternoon. For the new members, I've instituted a grass carp contest, tournament contest. And it's going to be October the 11th on a Saturday. Initially, I wanted to start over. Initially, I wanted to do it on all 7 lakes, and Rick has enlightened me on the schedule of stocking of these lakes, and very few grass carp have been stocked in the last 8 years for the 4 smallest lakes. So I think what we're going to see, and this is Rick's comment to me, is a lot of these grass carp that are getting aged are going to be passing on for one reason or another. So it's his recommendation, and he's convinced me that this is the way to do it, is to get out of the 7 lake contest and make it 3, with a big emphasis on Lowman. So that's the only real update. I met with your marketing department and Rick's department, 3 weeks ago or so, and we're getting some motion there on getting some posters made up. So do you have any questions for me?
So the 3 lakes would be the 3 biggest: Windsor, Lowman, and Ann?
Correct.
Okay. I agree. I don't see near the number of carp on some of the smaller lakes as we do on the bigger lakes. So I think it's a sound strategy.
I think I've seen some major big carp on the smaller lakes, but they're getting ready to pass on, so let's let them go.
Then we can focus our efforts a little more, succinctly, and not have 7 lakes. Probably makes it a lot easier on you.
Much.
So
very much so.
Any questions for Max, or suggestions, or comments?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Max. What kind of tackle will the fishermen utilize? Bow fishing, or is it hook and line, or what?
I'm hoping we have some ingenuity, and it's just about open to anything that will bring them in, dead or alive.
Anything legal, any legal activity that.
Yeah, don't tell us if it's not. Anything else?
No, appreciate the updates and appreciate you guys doing this. If you just let us know what's needed and what, as we get closer, we can fine tune this thing. So
Sure,
appreciate
I'm
the
open. If anybody has any, ideas on, once I get a roster built up, I'll be sending out emails and showing what is working. So the contestants, I'm going to hope to update with them as time gets closer.
All right, thanks.
How many have you got registered already? Or
One.
Just one?
Yeah.
Well, we got 2 months, so.
I haven't really told anybody, but it's my neighbor. So, well, I would if I had the time to do it, but I'm going to be busy that day.
Right. Hey, thanks again, Max. Appreciate it.
Matt, I have a question for Rick.
Go ahead.
Can I borrow the electric shocking boat?
On that day? It's really difficult to get them with electricity. We've been trying this year. I know it wasn't, but to go a little further, that's why we're asking for additional help, because those fish can sense the electric field and they stay away.
Yeah, I did a electric shock deal with your guys. I can't remember what lake we were on, but anyway, and we got a lot of bass. We got a bunch of catfish. We got lots of perch, but no carp. Yeah. And I know there's carp in there. Yeah. So
the trick is if you can box them into the back of a cove, at some point they'll turn and come right back at the boat, and then that's when you can get some. But other than that, it's pretty difficult.
Okay, I'm gonna go to open forum. Tom, you got anything? Okay, ma'am? Okay. I think we've covered everything on the agenda. Anybody have any questions or concerns or questions about anything that we've talked about or not talked about today before we close up the meeting? Trey, do you have anything other than what you added already? I didn't call on you earlier.
No, thanks for everybody that came out during the fireworks. Everybody was very well behaved. It was an excellent show. It was another great year.
Okay. All right, going again, anybody? John, you got anything? Nobody? Okay, that's it. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.